Welcome to Digging Deeper Ag Chats with Al, the podcast exploring the trends, challenges and innovations shaping agriculture. I'm your host, Alistair McCullough from the Gippsland Agriculture Group. Each episode, I'll chat with experts and producers to bring you insights and practical advice from soil to livestock. We'll be digging deeper to keep you informed and ahead of the game. So let's get started. All right, welcome back to Digging Deeper. We've got Morgs in the hot seat again. How you going, Morgs?
G'day, Al, and g'day, listeners.
Now, I've had a call, and the call was, where's Morgs last month? The masses weren't happy that I bumped you off the list last month.
I think I called you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. And all your cousins and brothers. Where were you last month, Morgs?
I don't know. I was on holidays, was I?
Yeah. You're right northwestern part of Australia, I understand.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Jess and I and some friends went to Broome. Danny and Caleb Britton. We went to Broome and went to the horizontal falls. So I do apologise, but that's the life of a stock agent. I try to have a holiday once every month. That's what everyone tells me.
Yeah, well, where are you off to next month then?
Might be an international trip in line. Yeah. It's cold and wet and nobody wants to sell any cattle, so yeah, away we'll go on a holiday.
Yeah, no, it's that time of year. I've had the heaters going on here. It's finally warmed up here and it's only 12 o'clock, so we're right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, last time we were talking as well, you mentioned that one of your big fans, Mr. Newcomen, was listening in. Now, I happened to send a hat up with you. Did that manage to get up the creek, did it?
I haven't seen Barry yet, but the hat is sitting in my car. So, Barry, you've got the hat coming. Trust me.
Yeah, Gippsland Ag hat coming your way. Check out the back of Morgs' ute when he gets up there. So
it might be dirty though.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
A bit of dog hair on it too. Anyway.
And lastly, the Linden Catters.
Yep.
Report back for them for us.
Yeah, we've had we lost our second game for the year, so we've lost 2 games by a point. So it's not too bad. But yeah, we're back at it again. Got Bensdale dead legs this week, so bring it on.
Yeah, we must be back to the round 1 again, just about over.
Yeah, that was last week. So
yeah, right.
The kids are back into it, and it gets a bit cold and wet, and everybody gets a bit less keen on a Thursday night for training. But we'll take them on full bore.
Well, I was there last Thursday night at training, and there's a lot of kids on that oval Thursday afternoon.
Oh yeah, there's about 20 and 3 sides. That's 60 kids plus the Oz kickers running around, plus the senior kids kicking footy. So they're everywhere. It's good. Yeah.
How are the seniors going? They're limping along, are they, or are they doing all right this year?
Look, they're going better than last year, but they're probably in a development phase, I suppose I'd say.
Yeah, that's the buzzword, is it?
Yeah, they're probably in the development phase. They've got Wyong this week, and I'm actually filling in. I'm the runner this week, so the messages are going to be very slow.
Yeah,
very slow. Well, they should do what they do in the AFL, just hold a sign up.
You got a loud voice, Morgs. You'll be right.
Yeah, I'll be honking and bellowing around the place.
Let's get into it. The cattle market. Firstly, before we start that, you were pretty spot on with some weather reports about 2 or 3 months ago. What's been happening in local weather in our area and further abroad, and what do you got in store for us for winter and early spring?
The Bureau of Morganology.
That's the one.
No, I think it should just trend. It's going to stay pretty cold, isn't it? But I still believe that between Stratford and Broome, really is we can still grow feed through the winter. So I think that is if you put out a bit of fert and you've put a bit of crop in and things like that, and hopefully it'll trend well. As for the cold up in the hills and whatever, it is a tough time to run cattle and sheep. So winter's a hard time to get through, but we're always a day closer to spring, and I think it's going to trend really well through there. As for forecasting rain, I only do that around the Easter equinox, because that's whether you get your best sort of weather reporting about then for your long-term forecast. So after that, I don't know. I think it'll dry out.
So hang on, when's it drying out?
I don't know, but I'm just going to say that. It's hinging 50-50.
You'll be right at some stage. We have just gone past the winter solstice, is it called?
Yep.
Yeah, so days are getting a bit longer, so hopefully a bit more warmth as well, because we've got moisture here. What about the rest of the state?
Yeah, look, I think there's been it's been rain and hail down in South Gippsland in the past couple of days. Western districts they are getting more and more rain, so it's an accrual of rain. It's just a build-up. They haven't had massive dumps. And then out through the Mallee and various parts of sort of northern Victoria, they've had some pretty solid rainfall. So it's good. It'll probably kick in a few crops away, admittedly very late, but at least we're going to get some sort of growth, which is good.
Yep. So what does that mean for movement of livestock? Is it slowing down for people that got them? People are starting to buy, or are they treading with a bit of caution still?
No one's really buying. So if you're talking about weaner cattle and things like that, it's just a consistent business transaction. So as you got cattle going out, you got cattle coming in, and that's probably the best way to manoeuvre your business. And lambs are the same. As you know, your lambs would be getting older, cutting teeth and things like that. So this time of year is always a hard time because it's hard to have really good fat stock. And if you've got them, they're worth a lot.
Yeah, well, let's talk more on that. Prices, cattle prices, they've lifted a little bit.
Yeah, they've been consistently consistent, or consistently inconsistent, as Trevor Cathens likes to say. But I think it's when there's big numbers, when it's getting dry, there was big drops. So people wouldn't get a rain or whatever, and they dump cows, and the Western District's clean right out of those cows and things like that. So I think a lot of those cattle that have been sitting around blocking up the system are gone. I think you can book cattle in now, and they'll go in within a week, which is a pretty good way to do business. You make your mind up, want to sell something, it can happen. You're not sort of shoveling, feeding, and waiting for that day to come.
So a kill space is opening up, is what you're saying?
Kill space is opening up, you can buy restocking cattle okay, but usually people wait for the spring. But I think there is going to be a shortage of cattle in the spring. Yeah, just on that kill space, do ABs start closing chains down or reducing shifts if strategically? They do. They do for cleans or because they can't get numbers or whatever. Usually that happens through this peak winter time. Also coincides when they have to pay about $10 a kilo for a lamb too. So they have to strategically shut down.
Those prices are going to stay around there, even though there's less throughput.
There's less and less lambs, isn't there? So the lamb job's incredibly good. We all knew it was going to get there. It was the public holidays and things like that sort of probably slowed it down and held it off, and a prolonged dry. Like it didn't break till June. So I think everyone was waiting for it to get to there. So we all sort of had a pretty good indication, and it's exciting. It's great, and it's there now. The Gag Group sold some lambs the other day, didn't they, Al?
Yeah, we might have topped the Elder sale 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So check out our Facebook page. It's all
it's on a Facebook. Barry Newcomen's got a Facebook page, so you better look that up. Yeah,
get onto it. We'll move to the sheep in a minute, but stay on the cattle for a little while. You just said that most people have cleaned out of all cattle that they need to get rid of. They're hanging on to stuff now.
Well, I can't say all people, but it is
generally.
There's a lot of fat cattle are out of the way now. The grass programs are all really lurching and surging ahead. I think you're seeing $8 now plus $8.20, and the cattle are getting harder to find. So I don't think they're there. We saw some really good results at the Bensdale fat market as well for younger cattle, vealers and things with a bit of shape. So it's going to get harder and harder to find those really good cattle. Now
coming into spring when there is a bit of grass around, what's going to jump?
Well, back end of spring's when the grass is around. Coming into spring, it's always a slow start, and we're usually a little bit earlier than everyone else. So South Gippsland, you'd think, will burst with a lot of feed, and they're always screaming out for cattle in the spring.
Yeah,
but it's particularly not when we want to sell our cattle. Really, as a rule, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, but we've got feed too. Let's hang on." But then you clash. You meet our season's drying out, so we dump cattle, and it doesn't have as much growth in South Gippsland as they hope, and the price doesn't really increase. My gut feel on it is, from what I can see for cattle around and everywhere else, I think it's going to stay pretty strong strengthen as it goes through the spring. And I don't know, but I can't see a lot of cattle with weight around, kill cattle and everything else. And from all the homework that I've done, I can't see there being a lot of kill cattle around in spring. So I think we're ahead. We're setting ourselves up for a good run at it, us Gippslanders. Yeah.
So cow and calf package is going to be worth. People going to be chasing them as well, or is it going to be feeder animals?
Yeah, so usually in the spring they wait for the cow. You cow to calve, or you buy them now and you buy them to calf, which I think is the better opportunity.
Yeah,
you might save yourself $500 or $1,000. You can buy a young cow, run it through the spring with a calf at foot, and then you can look to sell or grow her on or whatever you want to do.
Let's just go a bit more global with the cattle for a minute. There's a fair bit of volatility in global scenes, not just economically but politically recently as well. Is that affecting any export sentiment at the minute?
Not yet. Something will happen. As we've tried to discuss what Donald's got to do next, and
who would know?
It's pretty complex, but I think our meat is priced to sell on the global scale with a low Aussie dollar and our price of our beef is relatively cheap in comparison to the US. And
Well, just on that, I had a friend come back from Canada recently, and he was gobsmacked once he did the conversions. A cow and calf, about 6,000 Australian dollars, and a feeder steer over there, about $3,000, about that 300 kilo mark. So,
how big's your boat, Al?
yeah, ship a few over, you reckon? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we've got a fair ways to go before we get too expensive. Is that? That's what I was reading into it.
But they're at the other end. So they've got through the drought. They're in the middle of a massive shortage, and then people are screaming out trying to buy cattle. So we saw that only a few years ago. Then we had a massive drop, didn't we? So I think they'll price themselves out of it at some stage, and I think they're there. But who knows? I'm not a US cattleman, but I think it's gonna. Yeah, we're in a good spot at the moment. If we keep the dollar mid-60s is always good for business. As soon as it touches over 70s, it's where there's a bit of a buyer backlash. That's what the homework I've done says, but I think it's all just going to trend along okay.
Yeah. Anything else on cattle before we move on?
No, I think we've got it pretty well covered.
All right. The sheep, the lamb job. Lambs have cleared over $400 recently in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I love it. I love it how the ABC and everyone else goes, oh no, a record's smashed, and then you just go to the next market and it smashes again, and the next market it smashes again. But
I think three times in one day I read at different scenarios.
Yeah.
So
you'd be pretty excited the first time. You'd be twice as excited the second time. The third time you go, well, it's just going to happen again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
but even a lot of sales in the $300 mark is getting pretty common. What's driving that explosion?
Well, actually, the dearest lambs that got sold were lambs that were sold over the hooks. So, and that, you might have a pen of heavy lambs that make $400 in Ballarat. But it was like, I was talking to an agent from in the northeast. He sold 280 lambs. That's, I think, 2.5 decks or nearly 3 decks of lambs that he sent to one place. And they came out at $411. Because it didn't happen at live auction, he's like, well, whatever, moves on. So just take it with a grain of salt. Records are there to be broken.
Yeah. So what has, it can't be just lack of supply. There must be other factors involved.
Oh, I think they've had a pretty good run at it for a while.
Yeah.
Like if you're working on sort of averages on what your sheep, I think the sheep processors and the lamb processors have had been making some solid profits on them internationally. And I don't think that's any different in the cattle job either. It's boom or bust, I suppose, and now it's their turn to tip back in and give a bit back. So,
all right. So, is that sustainable? Those prices aren't sustainable, surely.
Probably not. They probably haven't budgeted for that.
Yeah.
They might have budgeted for $8 for a lamb and buying them at $7, and then for 3/4 of the year, and then they get to now and they have to give a bit back. I think that's okay. You shut down a few other days. It is what it is. But that's only me surmising it. You'd have to bring in a professional lamb buyer or a meat company owner and see what they have to say about it. There is a lot of costs and overheads, so it's something that we don't look at.
Well, there's no antidote for high prices like high prices. So, what is sustainable, do you think? You said $8 there. Is that?
Oh, that's just me saying it. What is sustainable, I suppose?
For both sides of the fence, because 2 years ago or a year ago, it wasn't sustainable for producers getting prices we'll get in, but now it wouldn't be. Yeah. I can't imagine it's sustainable for processors.
Yeah, I think they're probably at that point, and it's their ambition to buy them cheaper. But when the lambs are making $5, they're trying to buy them for $4. So, I think that's just the trend, and it's a classic case of supply and demand, isn't it? We're never going to have a perfect situation. We don't start at the same start at the same start line and finish at the same finish line together. Some people have different advantages, and they certainly use them. Where does the lamb job going to sit? I think it's going to stay pretty strong all through the spring. I don't think there's going to be as many sucker lambs that everyone thinks they're going to have. Western District's been dry.
When do they start coming in, those suckers?
Yeah, they'll start trickling in August.
Yeah.
They'll flow out of the Wagga area usually first, and then they work through the northeast and come down through central Victoria, and then it sort of hits the Western District last about sort of November.
Yeah.
And your sucker lambs, I don't think they're there. Yeah, so I think the lamb job will stay pretty strong all the way through.
Well, numbers is going to be down significantly, aren't they?
Numbers are going to be down, but then everyone's going to be trying to buy lambs too to feed lambs, because I think it's going to, they can get contracts for various other times. So I think store lambs will be quite dear. And that's what we saw. Store lambs stayed so dear for so long that no one made any money out of them for 2 years, and then a few traders just stopped doing it, and then buying lambs and feeding lambs has probably become lucrative again.
Well, I was scrolling over a bit of data the other day, and up around that 12.50 for store lambs, which is that's some expensive store lamb sort of thing.
Yeah, they're a deer lamb. You want to get some performance out of them.
Yeah, well, I guess they can take them to super heavyweights, but I'm always nervous it's going to drop off again.
Well, our Gippsland lambs, like it is, out of thumping big South Australian first cross ewes or the Central Victorian first cross ewes, you can get a lot of weight in your lambs. But it's hard to average a 30-kilo lamb. I don't think that, I'd put the challenge out to anyone if you can average a 30-kilo lamb in Gippsland. It's hard with the weather and everything else, but, if you work on 25 kilos, it's even hard to average that, really, over your whole drop. So
you get 2/3 comfortably, and the last third,
it's
going to be difficult.
And that's the challenge. So in the end, we work on averages. We don't work on highs and lows. We work on averages.
Now, what are you noticing? People hanging on to ewe lambs locally, are they, or are they cashing in while they can?
No, well, the ewe lambs are only making meat price.
Yeah.
So, and again, the meat price is so good at $10 a kilo. You sell a 20-kilo lamb, it's $200. Where it's breeder sheep are actually harder to sell now than when they were when it was dry, because you've got the processors that are paying more. Yeah. So really, you've got to just line them up and put your morals to the side and take the money on legs.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm hanging on to ewe lambs actually this year, so.
Oh well, a bit of free advertising now.
Yeah, going the other way. I don't mind the sheep. Righto, Morgs. What else have we got on the sheep job? Oh, mutton. Let's just talk about mutton at the minute. You were actually spotted at the sheep sales first time. It's like a blue moon, someone said.
All the moons have to align for me to show up. No, it is. I do leave it to our boys to sort the sheep and draft the sheep and the lambs. And Mondays are always a pretty hectic time. So I do I have been not been sighted in the Bensdale sheep sale for a while, but. No, I was just getting my own, and it was also our dearest market for the year, so it was a good one to turn up at.
Well, the mutton was the thing that staggered me. I hung around for the mutton sale, and what mutton was making was unbelievable there. So
I'm blown away with the growth in the Bensdale market. Like the lambs were very, very good.
Well, they yarded about 3,000, I think.
3,500, I think. Yeah. The lambs were very, very good. A lot of the mutton went in, and there's 2 or 3 factors there. There was buyers turning out to buy them. We've done our homework. All the Bensdale agents have to make sure that we're getting these repeat buys coming back, because we could see it dwindling. So you get 3 or 4 major players, midfield, who buy the biggest amount of light sheep.
They would have bought just about everything in the mutton lines.
Yeah, very strong. Yeah, Brad and JBS were there. Wagstaffs are there. So they're major players. They're all the big boys that buy a lot of sheep. They had their own representatives there, and then we had our usual local buys as well. So it was good, and it was dearer on a lot of the lighter sheep than it probably was previously, so I think it was very strong.
How does lining up the sale, how do you say that?
Yeah,
the Wellington sale after Bensdale, has that helped?
The East Gippsland Shire and the GRLE going together on the same day is the best.
That's what it's called, is it?
Yeah, so we've done it on the cattle as well as the sheep and lambs, and it's certainly working. It is certainly working. They used to have to come down on Tuesday for sale and then come down to us on a Thursday, but meeting in the middle, putting it on a Wednesday, we're getting... between the two markets, 1,000 cattle a week, and they're all turning up. So a bloke will rock up and he'll be able to buy 3 or 4 or 5 loads of cows if he wants to, and he can buy some trade and top up a truck. And it's one out of the box, but also because Pakenham stepped out. The Pakenham sale yards was become null and void. Right. So there was a market day that allowed us to do it on.
Well, who would have thought 2 councils working so well together?
Oh, I don't think they do. It's the agents. It's the agents that did it.
Sorry, I don't want to take your credits.
No, it wasn't just me. No, everyone sat down and worked through the pros and cons, and even the buyers. Like, they want to buy stock, and they don't want to buy stock at auction. Really, we can sell them in the paddock, we can do whatever else, but they want to buy stock at auction. So I think, everyone worked together, and slowly and somehow we built something, which is good.
Righto, Morgs, we're coming close to the end. Short and sharp, this one. But what is something that you've learnt recently that has surprised you?
Well, Peter McCallum, a mentor of mine, a very good agent, and still an agent kicking around.
So you're packing him?
Peter Macca, no, he's a Bensdale man, old Bensdale branch manager of Elders.
Yeah.
He told me this, and there's never a true word spoken. He said, a rain fixes everything. And you think about that in the whole farming sector. It fixes your mood. It can fix a cattle price. It fixes your country. You might do a bit of damage with too much rain, but a rain, he goes, just fixes everything. So, when we've spoken a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago, when it was dry in some spots and it was good in others and various other things, but a good rain fixes everything.
Yeah, it definitely lifts the spirits. And the other quote that goes along with that I've heard is you can make money in mud.
Well, that's a South Gippsland.
That's because they're always in mud, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Now, anyone that's listening, we've also got one other thing. We want to run a series of podcasts on local farming identities. So we want locals to come on the podcast and share their stories. Now, Morgs, off the top of your head, who are you going to nominate?
Yeah, who could I nominate?
Who would be worth coming in to tell their story?
I think Johnny Alexander would be a good one.
Yeah. Johnny
Alexander is a very progressive farmer from, I suppose you'd call it Walper.
Yeah.
And he'd be happy to come along. He's a real facts and figures man, and he's taught me a lot about farming. If I ever need to cost anything else or do a cost analysis on it, I just get him to do it. So, Johnny, I'll put the challenge down. Get on and teach us a few things.
Well, I got John's number, so I'll hit him up this afternoon and tell him he's got to come in. But anyone that's listening, if you've got some nominations of any producers who you will be wanting to nominate, email us at administration@gippslandag.com.au or jump on the website, socials, however else, give us a phone call.
We'll also put our biggest fan on it, Barry Newcomen. We'll put Barry on as well.
He'll make the trip down. Maybe you could drive him down one afternoon, Morgs.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd get here anyway. He comes down to Bensdale a fair bit, so he can come down, do some shopping, pick up his hat,
and
come and let you have it, Al.
That'll be good. All right. Well, thanks very much, Morgs, for coming in.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your well-earned rest away with the family, and we'll see you definitely next month.
Yeah, bring it on.
A big thank you for tuning in today. And remember, if you have a question about today's episode or a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out to one of our many platforms and join the conversation. We're here because of your passion and commitment to agriculture. Together, we can build a stronger farming future.
This podcast is made possible by the Future Drought Fund Regional Drought Resilience Planning Program, co-funded by the Victorian and Australian governments.